When the long list for the International Booker Prize 2021 got announced, I was a little bit frustrated, because as I looked through the list, I was shocked at how many books I didn't recognise. One of them did catch my eye though, and that was this, The Employees by Olga Ravn, which is a Danish novel translated by Martin Aitken into English. This book made the shortlist, but it did not win the International Booker Prize, and I have now read it, and I need you to read it if you haven't already. Here's why. The Employees, as far as I know, was originally created as a reaction to or a companion to a art installation in Copenhagen. A sculptor created this installation for a museum, and Olga Ravn wrote a short story or a collection of notes, a little piece of fiction that added to the universe of these sculptures, if you like. And that bit of writing turned into this full novel. I'm going to call it a novel. But its presentation is what caught my eye at first as I was flicking through it. As soon as you flick through this book, you realise it is not structured as a novel. I have mentioned repeatedly on this channel and in articles that I am an absolute sucker for something that is written as a diary or a series of letters or notes, that kind of a thing. I absolutely love that format of writing, and that's what you get here. So I was very excited before I even started reading, just knowing that was the format of it. It's a science fiction novel, but it's also a critique on workplace culture. There is a satire element to it. It is critical. It is somewhat angry, I would say. And it is also pretty surreal. The Employees is a very quick read. You can read it in a day. It's about 150 pages long. And it is constructed as a series of interview statements. The people being interviewed are the employees of a spaceship. This ship is on a mission doing something out in the 22nd century, and its employees have been asked to each be interviewed about something that has just happened. The thing that's happened happens before the start of the novel, and it was inspired by these strange sculptures that this sculptor in Copenhagen made. The ship has gone to a planet and picked up these objects, these strange items, these things that might be alive, they might not, they might have some strange power over people, they might not. And they put all of these objects in a selection of rooms, and the employees on this ship kind of interact with them. And one notable thing is the fact that they smell. They give off a scent, and that scent is what might give them some sort of a power. As I said, it is vague and surreal, and I suppose you could even interpret what I've just said a different way. I read a few different reviews, and some of them actually read the story differently, which I thought was really interesting. We begin with statement number 2, and a few statements are missing as you go through, but you don't really need to notice that. The statements are also not entirely in order. You might go to statement 75, and then to 73, and then to 77, kind of like that. It doesn't matter too much, but I do think that it almost makes you feel like you're filling in the gaps a little bit, taking a step back. Maybe you read a statement that feels like too much time has passed, and then it goes back a bit and you go, okay, now I'm following. But maybe that's not even true. Maybe that's just the numbers having a kind of a placebo effect on you as you read. But the employees are making these statements. They're never more than 3 pages long, and sometimes they're a single line long. And the employees are separated into 2 groups, human and non-human or humanoid. Robots, effectively. Robots with artificial intelligence. They are 2 very separate groups, and the objects have different effects on the psyches of these 2 groups. The humans are becoming more nostalgic. They miss Earth. They miss their previous lives. They are starting to be wistful and even poetic about the past, while the humanoids are feeling the same way, but are unable to look back. There is nothing for them to look back on. So they are becoming nostalgic for a thing that never even existed. They are becoming somber and sad and morose when thinking about a thing that they can't even really quantify. Snowy wanted to say hi. Oh, baby. Go over there. As the book goes on, and as I said, it is very short, tensions between the 2 groups, the humans and the humanoids, start growing and getting more tense. Snowy. Tensions between you and me. I love science fiction, and I love books that are written in a format that changes up the formula a little bit, and this book gave me both of those things. But it is also a critical and somewhat satirical book. The subtitle says, a workplace novel of the 22nd century. And it really is. It is about workplace culture. There is a third group here, and that third group is the ship and its management, the people who have decided to make these interviews, to interview and gather statements from the employees. And just the language of the employees and statement number something creates this sense of anonymity, coldness, carelessness. This is all from the perspective of the employees, but it's all being gathered by the company, whatever this company is. There is a carelessness, there is a stillness to all of this. There is no face to the employers, to the company. They are just invisible people behind a camera, behind a desk, listening. And there's a real creepiness to it. Kind of reminds you of, say, the agents in the Matrix. They are cold, they are unknowable, and they are an invisible third group. And it is them that are really being satirized here. The relationship between company and employee is the main thing that Olga Ravn is exploring in this book. The way in which the employees are left to make statements, and those statements don't seem to mean anything or matter. The employees are being completely honest, they are being very emotional, increasingly emotional because of the effect of these strange objects, and yet none of it matters, none of it changes. Every page you turn is just the next statement. It makes you feel as though anything an employee ever has to say, any complaint that they make, any feelings that they have in any workplace culture doesn't actually amount to anything, especially when you get to the ending. And the ending is not a twist, but it's a pretty shocking ending. And that really hammers home what I'm saying here about it being a satire of workplace culture, but I can't talk about it. You'll have to see it for yourself, and I need you to read it, so you will. The Employees also brings up some really good points about artificial intelligence and the meaning of life. Now, so many science fiction novels, cartoons, video games, movies, the list goes on, have explored this topic of artificial intelligence and the meaning of life. This is well-trodden ground, but it's done so here in a fresh way, and that's really important. There's a brilliant statement made early on in the book by one of the humanoids who explores the fact that humans program humanoids to behave like themselves. And you see this all the time in science fiction. But the humanoid is observing the fact that humans are hypocrites. The humanoid remarks that it was programmed to behave in a certain way. For example, you get married and you have a partner for life. And so they are not programmed to have any kind of urge for infidelity or anything like that. And yet they then watch all of their human co-workers do exactly that. And it's amazing reading how the humanoids are able to see hypocrisy laced into every action that the humans perform. Humans program humanoids to be how humans think they behave, while behaving an entirely different way because we are complicated and because we are not wholly good or bad. So we program the humanoids to behave how we think we do, but it's not true. And the humanoids can see that, and there's something very sinister in it. And it is an approach to artificial intelligence in science fiction that I've never seen before, and I was so excited when I read that. And that's only one example of the ways in which Olga Ravn explores artificial intelligence and the relationship between humans and machines in ways that I haven't seen in sci-fi before. It got me very excited. And that only grows and becomes more tense and sinister as the book goes on. I really hope that I've sold you on The Employees. This is a really exciting book in its form and format, in what it is satirizing and criticizing, in its themes and thoughts and ideas about artificial intelligence. The fact that Olga Ravn manages to be a critic of hypercapitalist workplace culture and the dehumanizing element of it, while also exploring the relationship between people and machines. She's doing a lot here with basically a series of interview statements that lasts 150 pages, and a story that is far from concrete and extremely vague on purpose. And all of this was inspired by her looking at some sculptures. I love it. I absolutely love it. So if you want to read more science fiction in translation from other languages, if you want to read more sci-fi by women, I cannot recommend The Employees enough. It's a wonderful book. Martin Aitken has done an amazing job translating this. Please check out The Employees it's one hell of a read, and it's the kind of thing you could probably just dip in and out of once you finished it, try it again, pick up a few passages, sort of like reading a book of poetry. Things are going to stick with you. Certain lines and statements will stay with you, and you can just go back and pick them up and read them. Oh, wonderful book. Wonderful. Subscribe for books.